Now speaking, Jennifer Como, Senior Vice President, Head of Global Investor Relations. Good afternoon everyone and welcome to Visa's fiscal third quarter 2023 earnings call. Joining us today are Ryan McInerney, Visa's Chief Executive Officer, Vasant Prabhu, Visa's Vice Chair and Chief Financial Officer, and Chris Su, Visa's Chief Financial Officer Designate. Today, we will discuss our financial and statistical highlights for the third quarter of 2023, which have been posted on our Investor Relations website. We will also provide forward-looking statements, which are not guarantees of future performance, and our actual results could differ materially as a result of many factors. Our most recent annual report on Form 10-K, as well as any subsequent reports on Forms 10-Q and 8-K, can be found on the SEC's website in the Investor Relations section of our website. Non-GAAP financial information disclosed in this call, along with related GAAP measures and reconciliation, are available in today's earnings release. With that, let me turn the call over to Ryan. Now speaking, Ryan McInerney, Chief Executive Officer. In the third quarter of 2023, Visa reported strong financial performance with net revenues up 12% year-over-year and non-GAAP earnings per share up 9%. Global quarterly payments volume was up 9%, with U.S. quarterly payments volume up 6% and international payments volume up 12%. Processed transactions grew 10% year-over-year. Visa is focused on three growth levers: consumer payments, new flows, and value-added services. In consumer payments, Visa has renewed and expanded agreements with 8 of the top 10 credit unions in the U.S., Intesa Sanpaolo in Eastern Europe, Hyundai Card in Korea, NatWest Group for consumer debit and credit, and Rakuten Card in Japan. New flows revenue was up 20% in constant dollars, with commercial volumes increasing 9% in constant dollars to total $405 billion. Visa Direct transactions grew 20% and were $1.8 billion. Value-added services revenue was up 19% in constant dollars, with more than 300 new issuing services, 600 new acceptance services, and almost 500 new risk and identity services sold this quarter. Visa also announced a definitive agreement to acquire cloud-native issuer processing and core banking platform, Pismo. Chris Su will become Visa's Chief Financial Officer on August 1st. Now speaking, Vasant Prabhu, Vice Chairman and Chief Financial Officer. Good afternoon, everyone. Fiscal third quarter net revenues were up 12%, and GAAP EPS was up 25%. Non-GAAP EPS was up 9%. In constant dollars, net revenues grew 13%, and non-GAAP EPS grew 11%. Global payments volume was up 9% year-over-year, and 48% indexed to 2019. U.S. payments volume was up 6% year-over-year, and 54% indexed to 2019. International payments volume growth was up 12%, and 43% indexed to 2019. Cross-border travel recovery continues at the pace we expected, with volume ex-intra-Europe indexing at 1.36 versus 4 years ago, a 6-point improvement from the second quarter. New flows and value-added services businesses continued to grow at almost 20% in constant dollars. We bought back approximately $3 billion in stock at an average cost of $229.19 and distributed $937 million in dividends. We also added $500 million to the litigation escrow account. In the U.S., credit grew 5% year-over-year, and debit grew 6%. U.S. card-present spend grew 3%, and card-not-present volume, excluding travel, grew 8%. U.S. processed transactions growth was stable at 8%. International payments volume growth rates were strong through the quarter in the major markets. Latin America was up 20%, CEMEA region grew 28%, Europe was up 10%, and Asia-Pacific, excluding China, grew 12%. Global processed transactions were up 10%. Constant dollar cross-border volume, excluding transactions within Europe, were up 22% year-over-year, and up 49% versus 4 years ago. Cross-border card-not-present volume growth, excluding travel and excluding intra-Europe, grew 9% year-over-year and 74% above 2019. Adjusted for cryptocurrency purchases, cross-border e-commerce spending grew year-over-year in the low double digits. Cross-border travel-related spend, excluding intra-Europe, grew 34% year-over-year. Service revenues grew 15%, data processing revenues grew 15%, international transaction revenues were up 14%, and other revenues grew 15%. Client incentives were 28.1% of gross revenues. We expect fourth quarter net revenue growth of around 10% in nominal dollars with minimal impact from exchange rate shifts. Non-GAAP operating expense growth in Q4 will likely be another 2 to 3 points lower than Q3. Non-operating income will continue to benefit from the attractive rates we're earning on our cash balances. Our tax rate is expected to remain in the 19% to 19.5% range in Q4. Assuming the performance expected in the fourth quarter, we will deliver low double-digit net revenue growth and mid-teens EPS growth in fiscal year 23. AllianceBernstein analyst Harshita Rawat. inquired, what is your outlook on the Block lawsuit and how should we think about the relationships with fintech and tech giants? Ryan McInerney replied, thanks for the question. Our relationship with Block is strong and we have a deep partnership across many areas. The lawsuit in question is part of MDL 1720 and is covered under our share class structure, so there's nothing new here. We value our relationship with Block and are pleased with the extended partnership we have with them. RBC Capital Markets analyst Dan Perlin inquired, Ryan, what percentage of the company's net revenues are attributed to value-added services and what is the potential for growth in this area? Ryan McInerney replied, thanks for the question. Our value-added services businesses have a large total addressable market, TAM, and we are just beginning to tap into it. Our acceptance solutions business, such as CyberSource, Verify, and Visa Acceptance Cloud, have a lot of potential for growth. With the acquisition of Pismo, our issuing business has even more opportunity, as well as DPS risk and identity advisory. We are still in the early stages of penetration and don't anticipate running out of runway anytime soon. Financial Technology Partners analyst Craig Maurer inquired, can you discuss the trends you're seeing in terms of domestic payments moving away from or back to domestic networks? Are there any indications that global networks are being favored due to increased investment levels? Ryan McInerney replied, thanks for the question, Craig. We're seeing a shift in preference to Visa from issuers and consumers around the world. This is due to our consistent investment in security features, tokenization and new digital use cases. We're still in the early days of building out Visa Direct, expanding in geographies and use cases. As partners use Visa Direct, they'll find some use cases work great and others may require different approaches. For example, in Latin America, they started with Visa Direct but then built an internal ledger system. They'll continue to use our services for many things, but there will be ebbs and flows as we build out this platform. Keefe, Brewett and Woods analyst Sanjay Sakrani inquired, Vasant, what trends do you anticipate in the next 12 months and how do you expect them to affect the company's performance in 2024? Vasant Prabhu replied, thanks, Sanjay. Transactions growth has been very stable in the US, around 8%. Adjusting for the Omicron uptick last quarter, pre-COVID trends have been maintained. Ticket size has been impacted by fuel, but comparisons should moderate in the fourth quarter, which is reflected in our expectations. Overall, trends remain unchanged from the past several months. Bank of America Merrill Lynch analyst Jason Kupferberg inquired, Vasant, what implications has Visa seen from merchants employing surcharges, compliant or non-compliant? Ryan McInerney replied, no, there are no implications to consider. We don't like that consumers have to pay surcharges, but unfortunately, in some jurisdictions, merchants have the ability to do so and some choose to exercise that option. We made a small adjustment to ensure that when consumers do get surcharged, it is fair and equitable. Deutsche Bank analyst Brian Keane inquired, what factors drove incentives to the higher end of the range this fiscal year? Vasant Prabhu replied, incentives were in line with our expectations and we saw healthy net revenue growth of almost 12%, even with the exchange rate drag. Yields were higher than a year ago, and we had some renewals come in earlier than expected, which we are pleased about. MoffettNathanson analyst Lisa Ellis inquired, can you provide more detail on the partnership with Pay U.K. and the RTP Prevent service? What is the scope of the pilot and how will it be monetized in the long term? Ryan McInerney replied, thanks for your question, Lisa. We've developed a real-time risk score for instant payments that uses deep learning AI models. This score, from 1 to 99, is integrated into the bank's existing fraud and risk tools and provides an instant code that explains the score. It leverages our proprietary data and the data we see on payment platforms like Visa Direct. The pilot is just getting going, so we'll report back as we learn more. Citi analyst Ashwin Shirvaikar inquired, what is driving the solid revenue yield from value-added services? Is it structural or episodic? Vasant Prabhu replied, FX volatility has no impact on our value-added services. We don't include treasury revenues in this category. Our value-added services are driven by three factors: deepening penetration of existing clients, expanding our services to a global market, and adding new services over time. This is a long-term growth engine for us, as we can increase the yield on transactions by adding more services and value. We expect this to continue to grow at a strong rate. Autonomous research analyst Ken Sushowski inquired, what is the expected impact of Visa's cross-border yield headwinds on fiscal 4Q and 1Q of next year? Vasant Prabhu replied, the yield on our value-added services has decreased due to lower currency volatility. Last year, currency volatility was 30 to 40% higher than it is now. In the fourth quarter, we will lap some of the highest levels of currency volatility reached last year, which are down almost 40%. This decrease in volatility has caused a decrease in our treasury revenues, but our core cross-border yields remain steady. Wolfe Research analyst Darren Peller inquired, given Visa's net cash position and gross debt below 1 time, how are you thinking about capital allocation? Do you see this as an opportunity to increase buybacks, or are there other reasons to allocate capital differently? Vasant Prabhu replied, no change in our capital allocation strategy. We pay a dividend with a set of criteria that yields around $1 billion a quarter. We use free cash flow for buybacks and have not borrowed to do so. We have invested in the core business and done acquisitions that make sense. This year, we have done around $9 billion in buybacks, including $850 million contributed to an escrow account. We are willing to step up buybacks and borrow money if the market is disrupted and stock prices do not reflect intrinsic value. Truist Securities analyst Andrew Jeffrey inquired, what opportunities do you see for Visa's commercial business to grow over the next few years? Ryan McInerney replied, thanks for the question. We're very enthusiastic about B2B and the potential it holds. Our commercial business is the largest in the world, with a payment volume of around $1.5 trillion. We've released several innovations to the market, such as Visa Spend Clarity and Visa Commercial Pay, to help our clients with expense management and control. We're also enabling acceptance around the world. In terms of volume, we're seeing similar dynamics to the consumer space, including the impact of fuel. However, we're confident that over the next few years, we'll have even more opportunities and better products to offer our clients. We're getting great feedback from them too. Barclays analyst Ramsey El-Assal inquired, Vasant, could you provide an update on Reg II implementation and rollout? Is routing choice now available to all merchants? Also, is there any impact from the recent Brazil tax rule changes on your tax rate guidance? Ryan McInerney replied, we're confident in our ability to compete in the Reg II space. We bring a lot to merchants in terms of managed risk, advanced fraud tools, and dual messaging capabilities that enable key use cases in e-commerce. We'll keep you updated on how it evolves over the coming months and quarters. Vasant Prabhu replied, in regards to Brazil, MasterCard's experience is unique and there has been no change from our perspective. Credit Suisse analyst Timothy Chiodo inquired, Vasant, could you please explain the factors that contribute to the gap between nominal cross-border volumes ex-inter-Europe and international revenue on a nominal basis? How should we think about these factors over the coming quarters? Vasant Prabhu replied, yes, thank you for the question. Volatility and exchange rates are largely responsible for the fluctuations in our profit and loss line. We experienced high volatility last year, which has since normalized. Additionally, foreign exchange rates have an outsized impact on this line compared to other lines in the P&L. There are also mixed factors that can affect the outcome, such as quarter changes. JP Morgan Chase & Company analyst Jinjin Huang inquired, Ryan, is buying Pismo an indication that Visa is more interested in owning tech and infrastructure that touches products, consumers, and allows for faster product development? Is that a fair assessment? Ryan McInerney replied, Tianjin, our clients are looking for innovative processing solutions and cloud-native API-based services to help them with their digital transformations. After a thorough scan of hundreds of companies and meetings with dozens of them, we identified Pismo as the best. Pismo is the type of tech our clients are increasingly seeking, and it provides an opportunity for us to buy the leading player that can help them serve their customers, expand globally, and deliver new use cases. We're very excited about it. Jennifer Como replied, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your interest in our company and we'd like to take this opportunity to wish Vasant the best. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact our investor relations team. Have a great day.